Okay, so today we're going to learn a little bit about exploring a wavefront OBJ file after we export it from Blender. And for that, I'm going to do something very simple here. I'm going to take that initial cube and just extrude it somehow here. I'm a little bit rusty, bear with me here. I'm going to go with this tool here. That's the extrude region. Now you need to pick the region. You need to pick the facets. So there's vertices or points, there's lines or edges, and then there are facets. So selection mode is going to be facet. So you can pick a facet or another one. And let's say I want to extrude this one to the back to the left here. So this being the tool, I can grab that plus button there and extrude it like this. Maybe I can then also go this way and do the same thing here. So I need to first go back to selection mode. There's probably keyboard shortcuts for a lot of these things, and I would certainly encourage you and myself to learn those and study those because they will make things faster. Let's go back to selecting this facet, and this time let's say we want to move that one up. There you go. Okay, and what else could we possibly do? Almost look like a Swiss cross here. Let's go with selecting this bottom polygon, and there it is. Extrude it downwards. It's approximate, but it's good enough. And what I'm going to do is one more, actually one on each side. So I'm going to go and select this one and extrude it. There you go. And we're almost done. So select this one and extrude it. So that was pretty easy. It's some of the very basic modeling. It's not super perfect, but it'll be good enough for starters. And we could do a few more things here. We could perhaps apply some bevels. And applying the bevel is something you'll typically do on the edges. So you'll want to switch to the edge selection mode here. And say select this edge and then shift click to select more edges and have all of these 4 edges around here selected. I think we should be able to go with this tool here now, the bevel tool, and I'm wrong, so let's not even go there because I haven't explored that yet. Maybe it's here. Yeah, there you go. So we can probably find that on a single edge at a time. There you go. We're in edge selection mode, so we don't even have to go back and forth to that. We can just stay here and trim them down like this. So that's another option here to give it a little bit of extra shapes. And of course, once we have that, who knows, maybe we'll go back to surface selection and select like this. And this time we'll go extrude it like this. How about we select a few of these? Can we select each of those and then extrude them? Yeah, but they're glued together. I don't want that. I want them to be separate. So I'm going to do one at a time. This one, click here. This one. And I'm sure there are many other ways to get much more productive here. I'm exploring and really learning first steps doing this here. Anyway, I wanted to get something a little bit simple and complex at the same time, and then see what we can do in terms of exporting that to an OBJ file and give it sort of a metallic appearance. So first of all, we'll keep it in this shape, and then we'll also do a smoothing. So subdivision surface smoothing, so that we have a more organic looking appearance. But in both cases, I want the export to be somewhat metallic in appearance. Now, I don't actually know yet how to do that. We will work with the OBJ material files to do that. So here we go, export it to wavefront. And we will go, I'm going to go to my second external drive here, and it's going to be Blender. And today is 11:01. So let's see, I need to create a folder, 11:01. And all right, so this is going to be low polygon, low poly. And the important thing here is to make sure when you look at the geometry you want to export, you want to make sure you have the normals. Although it's good to experiment and see what happens if you don't. The other thing, though, that's really important, I think, is the PBR extensions, the physics-based rendering. So that will export an MTL file, as the tooltip indicates, right? That material file will have some parameters, and that's where you can play with it to give it a bit of a reflective, metallic, glossy, some other appearance. So make sure you check this box, and here we go. So that's one export. Now I'm going to do another one, which is to apply an additional property here. Where do we have it here? View layer. There, this one, I think. No, that's the tool. So let's see. Maybe it's under the smooth sculpting, modeling. Nope, that's not it. I thought I had a property or something I can add here. Output, render, tool. Yeah. When I'm stuck, how do I get out of this? Let's do an undo. Okay. And now I should have property here to apply modifiers. Where are the modifiers? Oh, silly me, this little tool here. See, I don't use this often enough to really just know. But I'm going to do the modifier here. And I should really select everything first. So let's go do that again. I'll be in the modeling mode. Undo. I don't know if I can do a Control A. No, that's not it. But I can select like this. There's probably only one item here, the cube anyway, and all extrusions. So here's the modifier. Add modifier. And select subdivision surface, right? So that's going to generate a subdivision surface where this current surface is sort of the scaffolding or the outside or the inside structure from where we can do a subdivision. And the subdivision model can be very high resolution. I would encourage you not to go too high because it might easily be a few million polygons before you know it. So it might be too many for us to render in Howler. Let's go somewhere around here and see, maybe just the one before here. Okay. And so now we are ready to go back. We will do another export, but then this time it will have this smoother appearance. So File, Export, and wavefront OBJ. So now we see both files were saved, OBJ file, but with it came a material file. We'll take a look at that soon. This one here is high poly, so I'm going to change the file name here, high polygon. And again, make sure you have the PBR extensions selected with it. And other things, color, triangle, yeah, we can probably just keep things as is and see what happens. Let's go export that. All right, so that's it for the initial creation of some sort of a surface that we will want to make appear in metallic look. All right, and now we're going over to Howler. I've already selected the filter to go into rendering geometry, and here we go. The low polygon first. When you do a double click, it will load. Now up here, you'll see briefly that it's loading, and then it will show the full path to the file name. When it's done, this is actually such a small file, it'll be instantaneous. And you can tell that even though it had a flat appearance in Blender, we are doing some sort of a smoothing on those normals. And that may not be what we want, but it is what it is. And right now I'm going to look for environment reflection mapping. There's a little bit of a change, but it doesn't have quite the metallic look that I'm hoping to get. We will need to work on the material file. There's another thing we can look at is the settings. Double-sided is not needed here, but we can leave it. Gamma correction will make it a little bit brighter, but we can also turn it on and off, and then here have a little bit more tone mapping. So that in itself already gives us a bit control on the color and the appearance, and there's some reflections of lights, two light sources, a bluish and an orange one. Let's take a look at the other one, the high polygon version. Okay, so that certainly looks a bit more like an organic looking shape, but it doesn't seem to be reflecting the environment so much yet, right? So if we can select it here, yeah, it doesn't have that metallic silver gold look that I'm hoping to get. So what is it we need to do for that? That's what we want to look at next. Alright, so we're going to open Windows Explorer and go to the folder where we have saved those OBJ files. And when you select one of those, it would be nice to actually see it in the preview, which you can do. OBJ files are now recognized by Windows, and you can see even if it has a little bit of a metallic appearance, reflecting something like the environment. You can interact with it, you can rotate it, and so on. You can also do that with the smooth object. Takes a little bit longer, but there it is. And so let's see, this is hopeful. We should be able to find the material details. And so here we go. Let's take a look at the high polygon version right away. All right, so first of all, the OBJ file is, of course, the object geometry. Let's go, excuse me there. Let's go open that in Notepad++, for example. When you're in Notepad++, you'll notice really soon in most OBJ files, you'll see a list of vertices, V for vector, then vertex normals, Vn, and so on. So many more vertex normals, and then eventually, and vertex textures, UV addresses, that's a pair of two values, and then also a facet. Right? And these are quadrilaterals in this case, it seems, yep. So we have four sets of vertex position, vertex normal, and UV. Well, I think maybe it's UV address first and then vertex normal. At any rate, that's all there is. And somewhere there, before we list the facets, we will identify which material to use. And in fact, it's the one called material. So it's not very sophisticated here. We didn't give it any materials. It just came with a default out of Blender. And we have here the definition of S0, surface 0. At the very beginning, we have a file identified as the material file in which that material is being defined. And that's really where the magic is. So we need to find here, there it is, that's the material file. Let's go open this one. That one by default is already registered to open as a with Notepad++ for me here. And there it is. Here's the material, a new material defined called material. And in the OBJ file, we simply say here that we want to define the materials that we might possibly use. And then down here where the facets begin, that's where we will actually see which one of the materials to use. If you had multiple materials, you could possibly give them different names and call for them when you need them. Here in this particular example, there's just one material. Let's go take a look at what we can see in terms of the parameters in here. So we know it's got sort of a grayish appearance, and that means it's not going to have a lot of color dominating red, green, or blue. And that's on the diffuse factor, the diffuse color here. So indeed, you see the same value for red, green, blue. So if you wanted that to be a little bit more of a turquoise appearance or a little bit more of a pink appearance or something, you could work with this value. There's also the specular highlight. Has a color. Let's say I want to make this a little bit golden in appearance, so there'll be more red, a little bit, some amount of green also, but less of the blue. Diffuse, we will take it down to 0.4. Specular, maybe even a little bit warmer, so a little bit brighter on the red. And then we have some, I'm not sure what the E stands for, KE. I'll just leave this one alone for now. There are a couple of parameters I'm not too familiar with, but we will definitely want to look for this one. PM is the metallic, the metalness, how metallic is it. And then there's another one too, and I think it's this one here. So we will play with those two. So before we do that, let's see if I have it right there, and here is the material. I'm going to go reload that object. And we could possibly see already a little bit of a change. It's very subtle though. Oh, I didn't save it. That's why. That makes it very subtle if you don't save it. So let me go save that and then reload the object, which also loads its material. Now you could tell there was a little bit of a change, a little bit of an appearance, a little bit difference here. I'm going to go give it a much more dramatic appearance change here. I'm going to say let's give it 1 or 1.0. For diffuse red, green, and then just maybe 0.5 for the blue. And the specular will give it also not 100, one, one, something like this. Okay, so that already should give us a bit more of a yellow appearance, and there you see there's a bit more of the reflection in the on the highlights there. It shows a little bit more yellowish in appearance, but it's not the reflection that we want. We want to have a bit more of a metallic appearance by reflecting the environment that we select here. These are some of the environment maps, and we don't see them here yet. So the way to do that is by working with this parameter here, PM for metalness. That's not the only way to do it, but it's certainly one of the most convenient, very easy ways to do it. There is also actually maps, and let me just show you briefly where you can read about that. So here we are on our website at thebest3d.com. I know, very pretentious, isn't it? And we are on Howler 2024. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at the PBR, physics-based rendering. We have a brief description here of what we do, and as you scroll down, you'll see a couple of parameters here, physics-based material properties. These parameters you should be able to use. Now, I'm not saying you can all of them. I think some of them are not implemented yet, like the ambient occlusion. That one I think is not implemented yet. Transparency, I'm not sure either. But there are a lot of other things, and there is a map for diffuse, KD diffuse, so you could have different level of diffuse reflection or diffuse coloring. Basically a texture map here. You could have specular appearance, shininess. There's the roughness also, and this one's important. PR. You have the map for the PR for roughness, or you have just PR by itself, right? So these are the two. Perhaps my favorite parameters right now is the roughness and the metallic appearance. Now, there are a few other things we can also experiment with, but I would say let's take a look at that. The scaler might potentially also be of use, but let's just try that, PR and metallic. So first of all, the roughness, PR, and the metallic PM. So I have PR here. I'm going to put it down to 0. No, I'm going to leave it the way it is here, but I'm going to put the metallicness here, that appearance at the maximum. You can actually go overdrive it. You can go 2 or 3, but that's going to make it really, really saturated. So I'm going to go with this, save that, and reload the model. And there it is. And so now you can definitely see a bit more of a metallic appearance. And most importantly, as you choose some environment reflection map here, the spherical maps, they will give you a different appearance overall. So that's one way to give it a bit of a metallic look. But it is not reflecting the image very well to the point where you could see the details, right? Because, for example, here, some of these, we're inside a room and we should be able to see the room or the windows. And that's because we have the rough surface treatment. Right, so we can see it is reflecting it. That's definitely a metallic appearance we can use. But sometimes you want even more. Sometimes you want to really see the details of that image being reflected here. And right now we don't, because it is a rough surface. So that's this other parameter here. And if we put this one down to 0, you will see the best possible image being reflected here. Right, so if that's a 1024 by 1024 image, you should see a little bit of detail here. Let's go save it and reload it. And there it is. Now you can actually see what image is being reflected here. Right, so you can recognize details here. Let's go, for example, let's see what images do I still have. I have actually changed a little bit here what parameters I have left here. We are still inside the room here. We can see there's a window here. So that's the fun stuff. If you have an environment you want to, oh, there's a ceiling with some candelabra, some lamps hanging down, I guess. Let's see what else we have. This one has sky blue at the top, and then, oh yeah, some desert scene with some dry brush. And I think there was one with more green. Was it this one? Yeah, there's some trees and some clouds. So anyway, you can see how that works. If you want to see a perfect mirror and have a perfectly smooth surface reflecting and not disturbing the picture. But if you give it a little bit, let's say 0.5, you will see a little bit of a roughness there. Let's go reload it. And so now it's starting to be a little bit smoother, right? Not quite that crisp and detailed anymore. And of course, the trick here is to see, well, how much do you really need? 0.1. Let's go there. And that's a nice one. We still see we get a good hint there of the clouds and the environment. Let's see, I thought I had another one that was pretty good. Maybe this one. Yeah, there you go. There you see some trees and profiles. And then, of course, we still have also the reflection. So the light source, we have two lights here, two suns, so to speak, that we can diminish them to 0. Still has the specular to some extent, and that's something that you could also work. I think over here, that specular here, if you get rid of this, you essentially will not see that. If I remember, that's the parameter. Something like this. Yeah, so now you have just this one light source here. That one still is showing, and so that's one way you could perhaps introduce a sun in addition to the environment reflection map here. But let's see a few more values for the roughness. PR, let's go to 2 and load it. Yeah, so now it's starting to really kind of blur and make it a little bit more difficult to see the details. So that's what I wanted to do, is to see some of the options we have here. Let's make it a very rough surface. And see that one. Yeah, now you can barely see any reflection. I mean, you can tell roughly that there is a bit of environment reflection. If you switch to a different image, you can see, but it's very rough surfacing now. So probably around 0.3 or 0.4 might be the place to be, to still see a bit of that metalness or metallic appearance. There you go. All right, so these are the two parameters to play with. If you want less of that environment reflecting here, let's make that perhaps 0.6, something like that. And perhaps a little bit less on the roughness. And let's go save it. There you go. Yet another way to look at it. And of course, we still can go back here also and enable some gamma correction, increase or decrease the tone mapping, and so together we can get quite a number of values and lighting effects here. And I hope this will give you a rough idea of what you can do with the metal, the PM, and with the PR, the roughness of that surface. Those two parameters here really are key to give it that metallic golden or silver or some type of metallic appearance. Now there is a meaning and a good reason for these parameters too, and maybe we'll cover that in another tutorial. For now, let's just leave it with that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.